Okay. Well, let's get you helped out so you can, because you've been saving up your energy for Star Forcing, right?
Yeah, I'm at like 3.1, and then I could do some stuff on other characters and probably make more. And then also Maple Tour.
Okay. All right. So you got to 235. You did it.
Yeah, I did it.
Congrats. Welcome to Asphera and to unlocking all of the symbol dailies.
Yeah, that was the idea, was to do that and then kind of pause on leveling specifically, because if I have my symbols, I don't get arcane or sacreds until 260 or something, right? So
Yeah, that's a pretty big jump from here, and you want to make sure that your Legion is already nice and on the way for sure. But I want to make sure your character is established to be able to make that jump. Some people try to go more in increments where it's like, okay, make like a big upgrade, train a whole bunch, and until you kind of like reach your limit, then train a whole bunch again. Some people go more like smaller increments, or it's like, okay, just 5 levels, a little bit of upgrades, 5 levels. The higher you go, of course, 5 levels becomes a huge increment. But yeah, until you get to 260, the main thing now to level 4 would be to make sure that you do more damage to Will, basically.
right. What's his level?
He's 250, so
Oh, okay, yeah. So
you got an 87.5% damage reduction just on the level alone if you were to fight him now. I think Easy is lower level though. Easy, I think, is 235 as well, so you can start practicing the mechanics without, hitting. Like with a wet pool noodle, you can actually start hitting it a little bit.
Nice.
But yeah, those levels will become pretty important to make sure that your damage is solidified on the target. You add IED and lack of arcane power on there, and you're just not damaging it at all, basically.
Yeah. Thankfully, I have a lot of ID, but if the final damage is not an object, then I'm screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, arcane power, because you want bases, what is it, 8? Oh, I always forget. Is it, no, 760? Yeah, 760 for base damage. So below 760, you lose final damage there as well. And then for max damage, it's at 1140. For that plus 50%.
Right, for the 150, yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about, like, when did you start? What do you enjoy about the game? Do you have any big goals in mind?
So I started playing Maple when I was pretty young, probably like 6 or 7, and then obviously on and off sort of thing. I remember Pirates were about to come out when I started playing, so very long time ago. And then I took a lot of breaks. And then Reboot came out, I played a bit, and then I took a break, and then played again, took a break, and then I started again basically now in January, I think, or February.
So just after Ignition, or was that still going on?
I think it was near the end of Ignition.
Okay. Yeah, so January, February, around there, yeah.
Yeah, and then I played a few classes, and I was like, well, I have a dual blade that I want to play, that I've had at 200 since the beginning of 5th, I think. My dual blade's been sitting on my account at 201. Was at 201 at the beginning of 5th job, and then I had to grab the. What are they called? I had to make 2 new V skills because of it.
Right. Yeah, you had to be around to get them for free, but if you weren't, but you already unlocked your 5th, then you have to craft them afterwards, yeah. Or if you're new, you get them for free as well, yeah. Like nice in the in between where you get boned both ways, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like too high level to like convince myself to remake or something, but not far enough to be better set up.
Yeah, nice in between. And but you're enjoying yourself now?
Yeah. I think the only thing I don't really like with dual blade is training, which is maybe what made me wanted to lean towards mechanic a bit more. So I'm probably gonna hyperburn a mechanic and see how that goes. But a lot of my characters and stuff are set up for luck, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a missed or completely out of left field that dual blades training early on typically isn't people's favorites. But usually once you start hitting 5th, mainly with cooldown reduction on the hat. I don't know if you have that.
I have 1 line. of 1 second. So I need more. I know that part.
Yeah, that helps a lot, and just like, you know, getting that full map clear in there, right? And can be expensive, of course, but it definitely changes the flow of how you go around maps and how often you can full clear it, and that tends to give people a lot more enjoyment. Because, you know, then also if your rates go up, at least you feel like your time is worth more, right? Get more mezzo for it, more drops, more EXP. And there's definitely a big share of people as well that, you know, they kind of like switch around between the thieves, that try out Shadower, that try out Night Lord, play them at various stages. I think every class has like its own area where they shine. I think Dual Blade for bossing shines early on. It's got good tools, good IED, good crit rate, and then where a lot of other characters might need to rely on their Legion way more, Dual Blade is much more self-reliant. But then for mobbing, you know, you kind of pay the price on that one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, bossing with it's really fun in my opinion, so I like that portion of it.
Yeah, then if you like to end up liking the mechanic way more, at least in terms of like leveling and getting to the higher areas, then at least you'll have a really strong boss mule in this one, right? So there's no there's never like a real big downside in investing in a character at this point of the game. You know, either it works for your Legion, it works for your Lynx, it can be a boss mule, like, and it's a boss mule that you've already, you know, leveled all the way up there, so you also know how to play it properly, so it's not going to be like struggling, or that it's not completely not your style, so that's at least something you can always fall back on.
Yeah, I can do low meat on it, so it's definitely worthwhile. I don't want to do it just for money.
Alright, good stuff. So you've soloed those bosses so far?
Yeah. And Akechi, but yeah.
And Akechi. Yeah, Akechi and CPAP, like all of that.
I've duoed CPAP. I don't know. I'll probably try it next week. Have I done CPAP yet? Let's see. I have not. I'll probably try it. I'll see how it goes, because last time I tried to solo CPAP, it was difficult. But I know he's also kind of a hard boss. So.
Yeah, you can kind of like chain one thing linking to the other, and now like all of your lives are gone kind of thing. It's a matter of getting that initial burst really well, positioning yourself, blocking the, you know about Dark Sight, you can block the ground stuff, right?
I read that on like the Dual Blade Discord, and I was like, wait, really?
Yeah, so, Dark Sight just walks through rifts. Yeah, it's on another level. And there's a bunch of bosses like CPAP and HMAG, and then specifically more the Tenebris bosses that are going to be made quite a bit easier, but that's only after Savior, so that's still a while out. But they're going to be switching the mechanics up quite a bit. That should help with a lot of characters for bossing mule as well, just to blow through the bosses with you know, much more ease.
Yeah, I like the Magnus changes for sure. Like
it's a lot. I felt like if they did half the changes, it would already be good, but I feel like they just neutered him kind of.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I don't know the extent of it, but like doing HMAG right now is like, man, this is so stupid.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, a lot of these bosses were designed, you know, for people to do in a party. So I feel like if you're soloing it, yeah, you get a much better crystal, but then you have to deal with the downsides of being all on your own and, you know, being in there longer. But yeah.
Yeah.
Pros and cons to soloing.
Some bosses are easier with solo, honestly.
Yeah, well, if you're doing a Lotus and you know the mechanics, or you go in like a pickup group where everyone's kind of like confused and dragging him every which way and destroying all the platforms on the ground, like you'd rather just be soloing it and being in there 10 minutes longer, but you can do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Rather than getting like, you know, sabotaged by your team. But that, you know, that can add just a layer of difficulty, you know. Extra challenge.
Could have a really good bishop.
So I noticed with the so with the 5 to 15, you did want to dedicate more to this character to see if the to like round it out in its current stage, or is it just because you can, or?
I feel like I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about mechanics, so I definitely want to like still feel like this is my main. My mechanic is like very early, like I think it's like 140 right now, so I'm not even like thinking about progressing that super hard. But I'm basically my plan is to hyperburn and see how it goes, and I think there's gonna be a shining sometime right? So
Did you say 0?
what was that? Oh, mechanic.
Or
Wait,
which one are we gonna hyperburn?
mechanic.
Mechanic. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, I thought you said something else.
Oh no, it's okay.
Okay. But then, you're trying to get to 200 first and kind of see if the 5th job is to your liking.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically we get to like 205 or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then just kind of see.
Yeah, 205 would work, right? Yeah, 45.
So I still like dual blade, so even then, if I just had like a pretty strong boss mule or something, I'd be perfect with that.
Yeah, you could just bring up 2 characters somewhat evenly as well, even if the mechanic ends up a higher level, because it's going to be boosted up there. It might still not be as strong as this guy, right? Because you invested more time into this. Things that you're time gated on, you still have an advantage on the dual blade.
Yeah, my nodes and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, all nodes and symbols. I meant to say symbols, but nodes came to mind.
Mm-hmm. Because, some people just like the variety of just not being 100% stuck on one character. But of course, once you get past a certain point, if you really have a certain goal of like, I want to reach this content, I want to do this boss, or if you're more limited on time, time per day that you can play, you are going to have to kind of make some choices down the line. But I don't think that really past 250, that starts like past 250, I would say, like past 255 or something. But up until that point, I think you can be totally fine on just kind of like, spreading your time between 2 characters. I think it'll be fine there.
Yeah, I think doing like all my dailies feels like a lot with just one. Even now, well then, and then also coin capping and all that stuff on other characters.
Yeah, it depends on how much you're spreading yourself thin. But like during events like these, it's more common to just temporarily, go a little bit more in width, like to build out your account and your legion and that kind of stuff. And then as another event comes around, you'll like refocus and maybe go more in depth. It'll depend event to event, but it is a good idea to just, whenever an event comes around, to kind of look at what do I want to, where do I want to spend my time? Because some events definitely require you to kind of reprioritize what you're doing in a day and in a week. Yeah.
Yeah, which is fine. That makes sense. I think Savior has a lot of really good events for leveling and stuff anyways, so.
Yeah, that's true. I believe not as much access to like event rings or something though. So if there are characters that you are thinking of maybe, being boss mules somewhere in the future, if you get some event rings on there, that'll be a very solid start to give them a bunch of free damage.
Yeah, I have my synergy on 3 characters, and I'm probably gonna put it on. I was thinking of Mihail and then the mechanic.
Right. Yeah.
Because I thought I would like Night Lord and Shadower more, but I don't like them as much as I thought I would.
Because they're like right up the same tech tree, so you're like, it should be fine.
Yeah, but I'm like, no, it's not the same. I don't know, something about the mechanics, like, or sorry, not mechanic, the dual blades, like Blade Tornado and Blades of Destiny both feel really good, and same with Blade Tempest. Like they're all really fun skills to use. Pretty simple too, but yeah, I don't know. Burst windows with Blade Tempest feels good, but it's like I feel like Shadow, where you have to like mash Meso Explosion, and then Night Lord is kind of like
different iframes as well, right? Like you have to time that one more versus having Chains of Hell.
Oh yeah, Chains of Hell and Final Cut.
Yeah.
Honestly, I usually use Final Cut more as an iframe than Chains of Hell, unfortunately, but I'm starting to use Chains of Hell more.
Yeah, you want to keep that final damage up, right? As a huge damage increase on Final Cut.
Yeah, and the buffs for Savior with Blade Clone is going to be pretty good. Quite insane.
Yeah, Night Lord not having that any kind of iframe definitely puts you more in like a positioning and a mobility battle than just a timing on the iframe battle. But yeah, Darkside is going to be terribly helpful everywhere. So the further you go, the more helpful it gets actually. So You know, just to hold off until until you're liberated, and then you finally get your iframe. Or some people get a cur ring, right? You can get from the Stellar Detectives, and then you at
What
least.
is it? What does it do?
Cur ring is basically an iframe as well, but you are not allowed to move if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, if you're like a Night Lord and you're spread throwing, you're not going to be moving anyway. So, like
There you
curring, and
go.
then you
Just
just.
get a ring restraint too while you're at it. You know, just
Yep.
slam your head into the brick wall that's Tower of Oz for
I mean,
20
yeah,
years.
it'll definitely pay off for sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I
So,
was looking at the stats and I was like, oh my god, it's
mhm.
100%
Yeah,
attack
on a
increase.
4, yeah.
Insane.
Even a 3 is 75% for like 12 seconds, I think. So that, even that is massive, yeah.
Yeah, pretty disgusting.
Yeah, even if you only use it like once every 3 minutes, it's still yeah, because it's active where it counts the most. So you're just multiplying everything. So right now you're trying to. Okay, you would still like to treat this guy as your main because you're not like 100% chance yet what's going to happen with the mechanic. That's just, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I have all these gear that I want to get the 17 preferably as well. Yeah.
So are you trying to get to 17 just to do what you can do faster now, or is there stuff that you want to move towards with this character first? Like, are you trying to get into like normal lucid parties and that kind of stuff?
My guild wants to push for Luwil
During Savior?
during Savior,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I also want to just kind of get there as well because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if I get more experience with the boss or just other stuff like that, and I enjoy bossing a lot,
Mm-hmm.
so I think it'd be fun to do. Yeah, probably Luwil.
Mm-hmm. The main thing with waiting a bit for star forcing would be that you get access to the new star forcing system in Savior.
Mm-hmm.
And then you won't have to safeguard and you won't drop anymore up to 15.
That's true.
They'll save you a lot of money. Plus, Savior is most likely going to have a Shining Star Force event, which is 5, 10, 15, and 30% off at the same time. Which will save you even more money if you're trying to get everything to 17.
That's true.
There's a chance it won't be until like, late June, or like early, like first half of July. So it still might be like a month to a month and a half out. But when you're at the stage where you don't make insane amounts of money, typically what I would advise everyone else to do first is to try to get like a full set of drop and meso obtain. But of course, that's basically going to make you your money back if you're still training. But if you're not going to actively be training on the dual blade anymore, at least for a while, then investing the money into that isn't really going to see you any returns before that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you have in terms of like drop and meso gear?
My 3 of my rings have okay. One has Meso obtained, and then 2 of Meso obtained. One is DR,
Mm-hmm.
and then Greed Pendant and a Master Ring have DR.
Okay. Okay,
And then I have a 19% ability for inner.
Yeah.
For drop rate, and then I think that's it.
Okay. So you're like halfway there to like a full set? Roughly?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My thinking was I didn't want to like enhance all of my Golic stuff past Epic because I was hoping for reinforced soon. I have a reinforced belt in my inventory. I just haven't touched it yet because I didn't want to put it on until I got another piece of it at least. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that's the correct thing to do or not, but
There
made sense in my
are
mind.
there are several paths there. Typically, what is like a set that you would be working on now, or what your total equips would be looking at would be like a combination of CRA, Absalab, and then event rings, and then basically like near full boss accessory set essentially, because those items, because the base stats are pretty much the same as Golic stuff, but they come with flame advantage. And you could also, because of level, you can still transfer hammer them over if you really want to. But you'll need a separate set for drop and meso gear anyway, especially for your main character. For your first character, it makes sense to get like a full set of drop and meso with the box accessory and event rings combination. And then you basically hold that and make money with that until you basically go all the way up until Superior Galax, and then either Superior Galax with, you know, other drops that you find, or you go the Commercy route to get the Commercy accessories. And then basically once you have those set completed, then you switch them out. But by then, you know, you wait for an opportune event, you wait until you have enough money, which you can make because you had the drop in Meso Gear set completed. And then you know, put the items and the event and the money together, and then you can make the full differentiating set between one with drop in Meso and then the other one with damage comes in. And then you can really start killing the bosses more easily. So that's typically when you start needing the damage for like Lucid, and, you know, going from normal Lucid and then moving on up towards hard Lucid, and then normal will because of level, and then, you know, eventually up to hard will. But how quickly you do that might depend on, you know, do you get lucky with the drop, or do you do normal Lucid to try to kind of earn your own weapon? And then, you know, if you have connections with carries and stuff, then sometimes you can make your way up to the hard bosses a lot easier. But if you're going to be more in like a struggle party, more like just, you know, what I would say a regular party, right, where everyone tries to carry their weight and moves their way up, then typically not until you can afford your own first arcane weapon do you move from like normal to hard. Or like some people will, some people won't, you know, it'll depend a little bit on how hard everyone is pushing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fine though that you have the solids at this, because you can definitely transfer hammer them over, but it's also okay to already have a set. So I would say like around level 225 or something is usually a good time to like look at your character and be like, okay, I really like this one, I'm going to be pushing it, I like it enough to keep leveling it, and then like kind of start committing to the drop of the Meso Gear. But I guess if you hadn't, you know, if you're leveling a little bit more slowly, and you're not 100% on if you're going to be leveling it, you know, then you can take a little bit more damage on your accessories, like on Epic or on Unique, and then that can help you with the training. But then the downside is if you switch to drop in Meso Gear after that, you're actually going to go down in damage, so you have to compensate that with something else to at least mentally be okay with like going down in damage again. Plus, if you go for drop in Meso Gear immediately, then that gear is just, you know, that's what you're going to be used to, and then that starts generating money faster, and then that gets you to the point where you can switch to the full damage gear faster as well.
Right, okay. I guess I'm like halfway there, because 3 of my rings have lines for that.
You got like 2 Meso, 3 drop, right? Something like that? Or 2 Meso, 2 drop?
Kind of 3 drop because my inner, but...
Yeah, the inner stacks on top. So you would say, so for the accessories, you're looking for the 9 pieces all with a line. 4 with drop, 5 with Meso, and then inner ability if you can on top of that. And definitely because you don't really rely on anything else. You don't need the crit rate there. You don't need the, you know, you don't necessarily need the boss damage there because you're mainly doing mobbing. You got a good unique line already that does help you with bossing. So it's a nice hybrid inner ability, I would say. The only thing that would make it even better is if the Meso obtain line was a unique line, but it's already really close because you'll probably have like a 13 or 14 anyway, so it's basically there. So I would say this is a really solid like early and mid game, like a training inner ability essentially, that you probably want to keep all the way until you're like, I don't know, like level 255 to 60 if you ever get there, and then you need that long to build up honor EXP anyway, and then you can like reassess like, okay, am I going to be moving from hard Lucid, hard will more into Tenebris and hard Tenebris? Am I going to make that jump? And then you probably want to commit to a more more damage heavy inner ability, unless by that time you're strong enough. Then you want to keep this as long as you can, right? Because it'll give you a bigger guarantee to be able to switch later, and it will just make you more money and get you more drops along the way. So kind of depends on how much you actually need it. Like for my arc, I stayed with the inner ability like this for a long time, except instead of damage I had just flat attack, but that was my inner ability all the way until, I want to say like until 275 or something. And then I was like, I might still train, but at this point also, you know, boss mules are going to be making all the money. Training at the higher level areas where you can't even really loot before vac pets and everything, like there's not much gain there. That 20% is not doing a lot of heavy lifting, so it made more sense to go for more damage there instead. Yeah. And it's also nice because at that point, when you're that strong, you have very few things that you can actually still upgrade on, and all the things you can upgrade on are insanely expensive. So at that point, you know, when you're sitting on 10 million honor XP like I was, at that point, it's a fairly cheap upgrade to be able to make with a, you know, proportionately pretty significant damage increase. So that was nice.
Yeah, that or you could just do circs or something too if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might
Which
have
aren't they
to.
12 mil a piece? I think.
18, I believe.
Oh, 18.
Yeah, quite pricey. So yeah, so that's one option, is the at least the holding off a little bit. So if you know you're going to treat it as your main and you do want to push it further and help it, establish all the other characters. How familiar are you with my commands and such, and with my sessions? How much of that have you seen?
I watch the sessions occasionally. Have I gone through a full one? I'm not sure. Just watching it, I've seen them. Like I vaguely understand what's going on in them. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not like
um,
I'm speaking another language. At least it's a little.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, of course. Like I think I understand the game systems pretty decently for the most part. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely some things I'm probably missing and
Mm-hmm.
oversighting or just not seeing because I haven't played the game for long enough. But
Well, yeah, what I notice a lot
um,
is that people will just watch the sessions that are the same class as the one they're interested in, but a lot of the things that are explained just are for everyone.
right.
And I think people are missing out a lot if they're really only, well, and I'm missing out on views, but they're missing out on a lot if you're really only thinking like, or people are looking for like, can you give me a dual bladed guide? And it's like, well, what are you expecting from a dual bladed guide? It's like, oh, like what nodes to build? Oh, I've got that under the node command. What do I do with hyper skills and hyperstats? Oh, I've got a command for those as well. I don't feel like you need necessarily, not until you're getting pretty far into the game, like a specific guide for a specific class. There's only a few of them. If you're doing like Beast Tamer or something, like that's just so different.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
Therefore,
it, it
I've got a link for that. Like because someone else made a guide for that, or for Mercedes because it's like all of the comboing and all that stuff. Like that gets more intricate depending on, just because there's so many ways to play it. Then I have somebody who already made a guide, so I have a link for that. But most of the other ones are pretty straightforward, and it's more important, I think, to learn the systems so that also you don't feel too invested in just one class and then feel stuck because that's the only one you know. But if you understand the system, you can very easily switch to another character and just adapt it, and read your skills and then just adapt it pretty quickly. And you'll miss out a few things, because either you read over it or it's a bad translation and actually it works differently because it's still an Axon.
Mhm.
But then you have your class discords and stuff that can kind of fill in the gaps there for you, but you don't come across as someone who just did no homework and knows absolutely nothing and is asking all like the most basic dumb questions, because tends, from what I've heard, is a lot of class discords don't really like that very much. If you just come in with like ground level day one questions, just read the FAQ kind of things.
Yeah.
So when it comes to drop, I've got the breakdown here of like the difference between meso drop rate, item drop rate, meso obtain, to know the difference between those three. That's very important. And then where you're looking for meso and drop rate, and how much you're looking for because of item drop rate and meso bag drop rate specifically. And then that will help you to build your foundation, especially on your first character. Some people might do it on their second character as well, but I think after pretty quickly we transition towards kind of a boss mule centric income, and then supplemented by Ursus and Maple Tour. And at that point, you don't really need the meso obtain as much anymore. So I did make the update here that it's probably going to be a good idea to still go for quote-unquote drop set, but then specifically really only for drop rate, or mainly for drop rate, just to get your boss back up, your equip backups quicker, and more nodes, maybe event items if those are affected by drop rate, right? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, hopefully a Dom pendant someday.
Yeah, something like that. Kind of treasure
Win the
rings,
lottery.
earlier on. Maybe a superior drop, when you're doing Helix. Those kind of things never unnecessary. always find a use for those things early. Can never really have too many of those. And then here it's got also the familiars and the corresponding lines. Of course, if you're not sure, you can always summon the familiar and look in your inventory. So in your stat window, I mean, sorry. And there you can see how much your drop rate will increase by. So that's possible. Stacking with coupons, and the kind of situations of what in the end game, what you would be looking, what would be the highest you can possibly go for, and the more realistic, like what are percentages that you'd be aiming for. More realistic situations essentially. So that's that's under drop rate command. That will be useful for you just to keep track of whatever you have. If you do end up with more meso or more drop, then you know, on the accessories, just reroll whatever doesn't have any stat on it. You basically want to see, you know, your weapon, secondary, and emblem as one blob of potential, and you want to see your drop and meso gear set also as one blob of potential. Essentially, just try to tick the boxes for the meso and the drop, and then as much stat as you can, not strength for you, luck, as you can on top of that.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, of course you might roll something like this, you know, with like a lot of luck, maybe on unique, maybe on legendary, and then it'll kind of be up to you. Typically, if you're going legendary, you roll like a 21. I tend to re-roll that because that's decently doable. But if you roll 24 or higher, you know, you could say, oh fuck, you know, there's an event shop. I'll just get another event ring, you know, to kind of like fill in the gap, and it'll set me back a little bit. You know, it'll take me a little bit longer to make another bill plus and to upgrade this one. But at least then you'll also have, you know, another piece of your damage set when that comes in immediately. So you kind of switch around with stuff that way.
Yeah, I definitely want to switch off the treasure hunter ring because it's not. Well, it's max 15 star and it's not an event ring, so it feels.
It's ideal. Yeah, it's great for drop and meso stuff. So, and it's already unique as well. So you have a good out to like immediately get it to legendary and to start rolling on it, you know. And then it'll give you most likely more utility in the long term for your account and for your character, in just supplying you with more drops and or more meso.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So the accessories would be the 2 pendants, the rings. Earrings?
For pendant, you kind of want to see, like, if you know for a fact that you're going to be trying to keep on like a spirit pendant most of the time, you could skip one slot there and kind of go for 5 and 3 instead. So you can keep that one open for now. You could keep this pendant to transfer hammer. Sometimes people will use the Mechanator pendant, for example, for drop, because it's part of the boss accessory set and it's got that flame advantage as well. And then you can use this one if you want to transfer hammer into. But you're not going to be getting a reinforced pendant, right? Because you have to buy that one. So since this one is already epic and 12 star, you can probably also just use this one.
Okay. I have a Mechanator with a really good flame on it right now, but it's just sitting in my inventory.
And that's level 120, right? You could do the Mechanator, and then you keep this one to transfer hammer into a Dominator when you get it. And then you can start the Dominator at 11 with 9% luck.
For the epic. Solid?
Yeah, for the solid, yeah. So you can kind of keep that as like a 9% Dominator, you know, for a jump start. And then you can choose either to use like your first Dominator, you can choose to use that one for drop or meso, or you can use that one to transpose into Sweetwater. Yeah, whatever whenever you end up in that situation, and, you know, what positioning your character has in your account at that point. You know, if you're more going heavily on the mechanic at that point, then you could just say like, well, that's cool for now if I get that as a drop, but, you know, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Because at that point, if the character is relegated to being a little bit more of a boss meal for that time, it wouldn't make much sense to do a whole bunch of investing. Just do the things you can already do, like, slightly faster, right? You're trying to get as much money as you can from the character, not to pump into it for barely any return, right? Maybe if you're going to go for 250 and you're trying to include slime in your weekly rotation or something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll depend on how far you go then. The only other thing would be like to look at the hat and see if you can get extra skill cooldown on there. But of course, you know, that's going to be bright cube process, you know, that'll be pretty expensive. So that'd probably be after you get the Star Force settled during Savior. To circle back to that.
Yeah, I threw like a bill worth of cubes back into that for having just one line, and then I ended with one line as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks that the prime line can be both 1 or 2 seconds, but of course 2 seconds is twice as good, but costs you the exact same amount. It's just it's a little shit.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, I have one line of luck, and then you know, of course prime strength, but you know.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah. If that was a 2 second cooldown, you'd be absolutely over the moon with like a 3 second plus luck. then you
Is
have
there a
something.
3 second?
Well, you have 2
Or is
and
it
1,
just you
right?
mean
So it
plus
would add
1?
up. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Yeah, mathematically you can go up to 6. I've seen one picture of one so far, but you know, if you calculate the value of that, you're in the
Yeah, good luck.
high trillions. I think you start approaching a quadrillion at that point. Like it's
Oh, for Mesa's spent to get that line? Yeah, probably.
yeah, you could do like the cost calculator. I don't even know if the calculator goes that high, but well, if you do red cubes, then it definitely will be. Minus 6 second plus cooldown reduction. Oh, not too bad. Only 25.5 trill. Okay.
Oh, only. Okay, yeah,
That's okay.
sure. Me and my 3 bill in my Mesa's
Orders
window
of magnitude, yeah. Average cubes 1.1 million cubes.
You're right. I just gotta start soloing Black Mage. That's what I gotta do to get that.
Mm-hmm. Isn't 3-line crit higher? Oh, 3-line crit is much cheaper than that on average. Because gloves are have way fewer junk lines. So the 3-line crit is only 2 to 3 trill on black cubes. Which again, only, but you know, in terms of the amount of cubes, it's like 1/8, 1/9 of the amount of cubes. It's way more likely to actually go for this than to go for something that crazy on a hat. That's why for hat, usually people will look for 3 or 4 seconds. Like 3 seconds that's already expensive, but that's like 10, 11 bill. That's doable. 4 seconds, you're getting into 30 to 40. And if you want to get any stat with it, then it's going up a lot. So that's why I was saying, like, if you get the 3 seconds and a stat, that you'd be chilling, because that's like a 50 to 70 bill worth potential right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gets really crazy really quickly.
Yeah, when I first rolled Legendary, I had 3 lines of all stat, and I was like, man, this is fucked up. I'm playing Dual Blade, man. I can't.
Yeah,
like, I would just hold on to it if I wasn't playing Dual Blade.
Yeah, I mean, all stat isn't that bad for Dual Blade, right? If it's just purely you're going for damage, because of the because you have 2 secondary stats as a Dual Blade in Dex and Strength. Yeah, Dex and Strength are both secondary stat. So all stat actually.
I didn't know that. What the fuck?
So for Shadower, for Dual Blade, and for Cadena, they have 2 secondary stats. So all stat actually scales a little bit better for you than for all the other classes. So if you throw it into a calculator, you actually get a little bit better. So that's why if you have the flame calculator here for the score, on the top here, you want to put in your class, right? So that's why Shadower, Dual Blade, and Cadena are separate here, and they're not just under regular luck classes.
Oh, I couldn't find that calculator. I found like some other one, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah, there's probably a bunch of them out there. Yeah, Seth from my community made this based on like the numbers that I gathered. So based on whether you're doing late game or end game, and then which class you're doing, whatever you put in here will give you the flame. Yeah, but if you select like the other ones, it'll be a little bit lower here. If you do end, it'll be here, and then it'll be like higher. But yeah, at this point, might even have to be updated a little bit, because I think for now, I think in endgame for one of these people, if you're truly endgame, I think this even starts approaching, it goes past 11 and starts approaching 12, I think. So, yeah. So, you know, if you roll 3-line all stat and you're really just looking for stat, that's probably still good. You'd have to roll over 21 on everything else before you want to revisit that, basically.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. But except on the hat, of course, right? That's where you want the cooldown reduction. For Dual Blade, it's just very, very important, both for mobbing and for bossing. Some characters want mobbing cooldown or bossing, one of the two, and then sometimes they go for 2 hats and stuff. But I'm pretty sure for Dual Blader, you just want both.
Yeah, because Blade Tornado and Blades of Destiny are both pretty
just so
big.
huge, right?
And
yeah.
Trinodes on Dual Blade are the worst thing on the planet, so
Well,
I have yet to finish even get 2 perfects.
Yeah, there's a lot of junk on there, right? Mm-hmm.
It's all junk.
A lot of stuff you don't need.
Bad. I've just been investing in sudden raid nodes, hoping that one of them will give me what I want, but no.
Yeah, you want to craft something. What do you want there? There's 2 trios eventually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the first one is
like,
more important, yeah.
Mine's like 2 out of 3. So I have, what is it right now? Blade Fury, Blade Clone, Blade Ascension on one, and then
Mm-hmm.
and then I was going for, I think I wrote it on my phone. It was Phantom Blow, Asuras, and Sudden Raid on the other. Because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
Sudden Raid and Asuras are, well, Asuras is good for bossing, obviously, but
Yep. Not really needed for mobbing in the beginning. Just kind of overkill, right?
yeah, but I felt like, I don't know, Blade Ascension isn't, I don't understand the obsession with Blade Ascension. I don't think it's that great for mobbing personally.
I think it's just because you want a 6th anyway. I think once
Yeah.
you get further in the game and you get really strong, you can actually start using it for killing while you're moving. But probably only for a little bit. Probably only in maybe in Labyrinth, but probably just in Limina when you're moving from one place to the other. Because then as soon as you get out of that area, you're just going to be tickling monsters with it. So it's more like, you know, because you have the room for it in the Matrix setup, might as well pick something that has some use somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, some people really like it. I'm not one of them personally.
I heard it's also a preference thing, yeah. I'd always, yeah, I've never really gotten into Dual Blade that much, but it always felt like a little bit of a weird skill, like with the up arrow to go higher and then try to make it go sideways, but you still, kind of feels like you're still falling like a brick whenever you use it.
Oh, for what? For Blade Ascension?
For Blade Ascension, yeah. Because you're going horizontal,
Yeah.
but it's not really like you're lunging. You're just going to like you get a little bit of a, you know.
Yeah, if you have a green pot and speed infusion, it's a lot better.
Oh, you can just like a few times before you land.
You can chain it. You can chain it like, I want to say near infinitely. Basically, you up jump and do it with it, and then you just keep holding it, and then you just keep jumping. So like Spirit Savior and stuff is really really good with it.
Yeah, because then you get those really long jumps, and you can just keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the 20k yet?
20k what?
Spirit Savior?
No, I've gotten like 15. 20k feels impossible, but we'll see. I'd have to watch some videos on it. I've just been kind of doing it.
Gotta practice. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just have to open up a whole bunch of nodes, right? If something starts with a node you don't need, you can extract it, but other than that, you just want to, get your
Yeah, I have like, how many sudden raid nodes do I have at this point?
Yeah, I see you have more than a page, so you're probably like 15 to 20 at this point.
Yeah, I have like well, no, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. I have 12, no, 13, yeah, so
Yeah,
getting there. But when I finally get the one I want, it'll be very nice, but...
Alright, so we've got the general priority straight. I want to look through all the screenshots real quick and see if there's anything that we're missing out on or anything we need to update.
Sure. Yeah, very hard, but other than that,
yeah,
it's pretty...
Did you already bought the one this event, or?
Oh no! I was like, I'm waiting for Savior for that one. I'm not even gonna bother.
Yeah, this one's a bit more expensive.
Yeah, my thinking was like, I want a 17, and then I'll worry about Fairy Heart. But now you're making me reconsider even pushing to 17 today. I was thinking probably just CRA and then maybe my Abso up. So I have a lot of I don't want to say a lot, but I have a good amount of cores and stones for Abso stuff. So if I do boom anything, I could relatively easily replace it. I have to do some quests, but
yeah, that's why I'm looking more towards like the Shining Star Force and the Savior changes, just so you don't have to worry about possibly booming. Because I'm pretty risk averse of myself, so I tend to wait longer rather than go. Maybe a bit too much so, but I feel like some people also just kind of like go a little bit too quickly rather than, have a little bit more patience. It depends on, how much you feel like you can hold off on that and focus on other things first. And then maybe by the time you make your money back, the event is just around the corner.
Yeah, we'll see, but...
maybe not.
I want to push at least one quit to 17, let's just say that.
Well, if you're gonna get close to the weapon, as weird as it is, you might want to. If you can afford backups of this, you could tap and then, if it goes to 16, transfer hammer it into the Abso weapon, right? And then
Wait, look at the weapon, the dagger.
Oh, you have a fucking.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
You're
hold
baiting
on.
me. Okay. You wanted the
No,
shiny.
I wanted to.
Well, successful.
I'm saying glam because I'm 14, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like how the dagger looks.
Right. Okay.
They're kind of too big. I was like, oh, I want to transfer him. And I was like, never mind. They look too big. I can't see my fit, so I'm going back to the Lotus fucking, what is it called? Lotus doll weapon skin. So.
Oh yeah, no, you got anviled and covered in NX. Yeah, just to make sure it's definitely covered.
Just to flex on it real quick, you know.
I see. Yeah, no, that's totally fine. If you gotta try to send something to 17, usually I use 30% offs to get things to 15, and then from 15 past 15, I use 5/10/15s, just for for general efficiency sake.
I was like thinking something like that was like,
because you're gonna fail a lot, like 12 to 13 to 14, and yeah, it's basically like doing off event up to 15, basically, if it's only a 5/10/15 event.
Okay, yeah.
If there wasn't,
what's the point of 30% if it's just like 5/10/15 is kind of better for pushing to 17?
Well, to get things up to 15, and also technically it starts being cheaper again once you're pushing things past 20. So like 21 and 22, you gain nothing from a 5/10/15, and then with 30% off, you start winning a lot of money there. The major problem is just that you end up with way more booms. So it technically, if you have like infinite backups, then 30% off is better like for lower amounts and for super high amounts, and then anything in between 5/10/15 is better.
Right, okay.
But if your average booms is going to be like 12 or something, then you're also more likely to get closer to spending all of that money. Whereas if your average boom is more like 2 or 3 and you get a little bit lucky, then you end up saving more money during a 5/10/15. So it has to do with like the standard deviation as well on like where you're going to land. But eventually, if you do all of your items on all of your characters, it's always just going to go towards the median anyway. So
yeah,
it should even out. Nobody should be lucky on everything or unlucky at everything, but you never know. Some people defy the statistics.
Some people get screwed, yeah.
And some people, defy them in the positive way, and some in the negative way, where they.
Oh yeah, I was thinking exclusively negative. It shows in my mind is that, but.
Yeah, you're already PTSD'd your way into assuming the negative immediately.
Yes, apparently, fucking hell.
Yeah. Okay, so just to check this real quick. So this is your mobbing. Bossing links. Yeah, to get the ID in there. And if you looked at like the.
Isn't I mobbing? Hold on.
No, this is bossing link.
Okay, yeah.
If you looked at the Cadena link to maybe take that one.
I have it. I just don't. I don't know what to switch it for.
I mean, as long as you can keep the debuff sum with empirical knowledge, and you're attacking something that's lower level than you for bossing, which is going to be everything now except for will, essentially, then it would be 12%, right? So it'd already be a little bit stronger than elementalism, because that's just 10%.
Okay, yeah, I'll throw that in there then.
And if you get enough IED, do you have any IED from familiars at this point?
I think I have 115%, and then I have a drop rate familiar as well, but it's a common, so it's not greatest.
The other thing would be that if you do get a lot of ID, maybe like right now from event buffs and stuff, and that brings your ID a little bit higher, you could also just take out your weakest ID link in the link skills, so like the Rin's Blessing, for example, and then maybe the Bravado. Those two could also, those are by themselves, because it's just one line of 10%, those are also kind of on the on the low, if you're just ranking them 1 to 13 based on how much they add to your damage, they're also like or 1 to 12, I guess I should say, because you can't really. Lower end. Yeah, they're on the lower end, like below the 10 mark. They're all kind of like around there. So at that point, whether you're switching one out when it's like a slight increase, or roughly the same. You can also pick for more utility, right? If you want a little bit more survivability, you can put in the Spirit of Freedom, and you won't necessarily hurt you that much in terms of damage output, because you've got so much extra IED on your main attack, right? And then you have two skills with like 100% on it, so you don't necessarily need to visually on your stat window go to as high of IED as some other classes might have to.
Yeah, I kind of felt silly having my IED that high when I'm a dual blade, but I think
if you have nothing else to put in, then it's fine, of course, right? It does something. But if there's other stuff with more flat damage, or even a bunch of flat stat, like I don't know if you have a really nice core aura roll, for example, something like that, it could end up being better. Maybe even terms and conditions, right? The Angelic Buster link, so you can give your burst a little more oomph.
I haven't done Angelic yet, but I have. I guess what I'm thinking is either Hybrid Logic or maybe Spirit of Freedom. Yeah.
Yeah, Hybrid Logic is mainly up until like mid game, and then maybe late game, and then after that it mainly stays like kind of like a mobbing skill, because you could also use, as long as it's stat and all stat and that kind of stuff, again you can kind of use the flame score calculator to see how they compare to each other, right? Because they've got the same balance in them, so you can just add the stats in here and see what flame score your skills are roughly equal to. If you want to know, like, do I use the the Cygnus link fully stacked? Do I use the Pirate buff fully stacked? Do I use Hybrid the Xenon one, right? Or do I use my core aura? Because it's kind of hard to tell which one is better, but then you can use the flame score calculator for that to see how they compare to each other, so you're not comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, my jet's only 70, so I can't really.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna roll that well, yeah.
So basically, wait for him to get removed for that to be useful. But
yeah, and you'll get the full effect.
Yeah, so
yeah, so you can move a little bit around there, but if you get a little bit more crit rate from sources, then the adventure one is also pretty low value. But as long as you need that crit, it's super high value, because it just depends on where your whole account is at. But we'll look at the stats a little bit, because I did notice I think the priority here is a little bit different than I would advise to do it, because main stat is really nice in the beginning, right? You get your main stat, you get your attack. But as soon as you get to the outer grid, you want to mainly max out the outer grids first that are relevant for you, and then once you were like post 7.5, 8, 8.5k, then you want to start filling up the middle again. So I would go out of the luck here, and prioritize the critical damage first, and then if that's full, then go into normal monster damage.
Okay.
And that should also be the same priority basically for all the other characters in your legion, so then all you have to do if you want to is like switch the middle stats, but yeah, won't even do that much, right? Whether you have a warrior with luck here or like 5 extra strength, it's not gonna make that much of a difference. It's more like when you get past 8k and stuff that you can make different setups according to which characters are on the board rather than where the pieces are. But where the pieces are still important, but then if you have access to all the characters, then you can really start seeing like, am I going to prioritize all my int characters in there for a mage legion board, or prioritize all the luck and then the dex and then the strength, and basically leave all the intellect ones by the wayside because it gives me nothing kind of thing. But yeah, that's min-maxing for much later. Other than that, it's good. Yeah, just enough crit to get to 100. So if you end up getting more crit or your hyperstats, because that's probably the other thing, is that I think you're getting in a situation now, because everything else is 10, that you can start putting some crit rate into, or hyperstats into critical rate, I should say, and that will be relatively very cheap for you. But that will mean for your Legion board that you can start moving points out of critical rate there and start moving them into IED, into and I would say again for this board, if this is your bossing board, to prioritize critical damage over boss damage.
Yeah, my second one's my bossing, so it would be, so crit damage is just better. I think I probably have too much in IED, but I could be wrong.
Very early on, you can almost never have really too much in IED, but again, because you are a dual blade, you're probably okay up to this point with like 90 visual is probably totally fine. So you get enough crit to get to 100%, and then fill out your critical damage. And then most people, go enough crit to hit 100, and then fill out their IED, then do as much in critical damage, and if there's anything left, then in boss damage, basically. It's like the with like an ampersand kind of squiggly line in terms of priority. For you, if it's the same priority for you, but if you find that the ID already hits the mark, you know, before that, or even with like just like 10, 15, maybe 20 blocks in there, then you can start looking at the boss damage. But again, here I would go out of the middle and go out of the luck in the attack, and only go back into that when the outer fields are completely full.
Okay, yeah.
So if you need for this, you could use a Legion Solver. If
I usually, yeah, the last time I set it up, I did, because it's useful.
Yeah, I mean, it saves time. For me, it's fun. You know, I like Tetrising, so I like moving stuff around like that. But yeah, you have like a little bit of loss in the middle, right? You don't have to fill the whole block in the middle. You just have to have one of those 4 has to have an icon in it. So as long as it has that, you can just build a straight line through the middle, typically with the archer pieces to connect the sides. And then that's usually what I use as a foundation to build everything else around.
I think all my archers are 140. I don't think I have any 200 archers at the moment.
Yeah, those really long pieces can be very useful to get from one side to the other real quick. But I mean, if you have 3 archers, that's already enough to get from one side to the other. And then you can just start slabbing them on the side. But with the extra critical damage, you should find your damage go up quite a bit. The downside is just that you don't see your range go up at all, right? So you really have to just detach yourself from the damage range, because that's just
I don't even look at range.
That's good.
Honestly.
That's good. Yeah. Because yeah,
it doesn't mean anything.
So because your base critical damage is between 20 and 50% on a hit, so is around 35% base critical damage, which means 35% final damage on crits. So if you add 64, then you're at 99, so around 100%, so that your crits hit double. Which means that if you add 20% from a full block, you go from 100% final damage to 120% final damage on those. So it's just, even for classes with insane high critical damage, it's still just like priority. There's only a few classes where you can start tweaking it, but that's like if you're a archer main with like max vicious shot and you're going into the realm of like over 200% critical damage, like you're closing in on like 220 to 30% critical damage or something, or your Cadena, where every single debuff on the boss gives you, I think, 5 or 6% critical damage or something, and then a boss is like 20 on him, and then it starts really counting. But for everyone else, just everywhere you see critical damage, just try to get it, because it's just so good.
It's good to know I don't use much main stat, because it's...
Yeah, I mean, it's normal that it historically builds up like that, but as soon as you get to the outer grids, you kind of want to move out of it. Mainly, yeah, because it multiplies, but it's just not as effective. You want to have the other stats working for you first. So I'll probably add a few points into the hyper stats, into critical rate, just to see how high you can go there. And then just hover over your critical rate and see where you're actually at. And then you can probably take quite a bit, I think, out of your Legion grid. And then that can go into helping maxing out your critical damage. Yeah, I imagine that you put very little in IED, fill out the critical damage, a little bit in crit rate, and then a whole bunch in boss damage. Probably almost max it out, I'm guessing. That's probably when you want to be at. I think for bossing, that will help you quite a bit. If you're already, you're working on the mechanics and you're getting better, you should also get closer to just being able to blow up CPAP and then not have to worry about all the weird mechanics, Now that you know that you can dark side the rifts and capitalize on your points and on your work you've already put in your character a little bit more there. I feel like that boss should be a whole lot more doable.
Yeah. CPAP's mechanics are cool, but they're also kind of aids. So
yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. Especially if you get like a glitch and the claws are in a different position, and you're like, what are we even doing here? The one safe spot has a claw right on top of it, and it's like, I can't even stand there now.
Yeah, it just gets a little bit depressing at some point.
As for the Matrix, yeah, it's kind of up to you, what you do with Holy Symbol and mobbing versus bossing. But you're probably going to get a little bit more into that situation as well, especially once you get your boost nodes together. And this is why it's, ideally you keep your boost nodes kind of separate in a set for mobbing and a set for bossing. So that's also mentioned here, is that in the beginning you just get your Phantom Blow, Blade Asura, and Asura's Anger, because then you can just have one tri node for everything. But then as you go for 1 and 2, you'd want to switch out, what is it, the Blade Fury and the Blade Clone, so that you have one just Phantom Blow, Blade Clone, Asura's Anger, and then that's basically just for bossing your most important thing, because like you said, you'd be missing Asura's Anger for mobbing, but Asura's Anger typically already is like one-shotting, right? You don't really need to boost it anymore. So then what you can do is you can just switch the 2 bossing ones and the 2 mobbing ones, one for the other, so there's only 2 slots at all times occupied by boost nodes, and then you can equip a maximum amount of skill nodes around that.
Okay, yeah.
So while you still have that flexibility now, definitely try to make that set, because once you start mix and matching, now you have to equip all 4 for both situations, and then you're essentially losing 2 skill nodes that you're available to. But yeah, you'll start making more set like specifically for mobbing, one specifically for bossing, because now you have like a bind and Urda Shower together, right? Typically those will just never be in the same matrix ever, because one is completely because one is completely useless for mobbing and the other one is completely useless for bossing, so they will never go together, right? And that's when really the value of the matrix in every single slot will start coming in, once you have more leveled up nodes and once you have more options, and you want to, just like with your hyper stats, build a mobbing and a bossing setup, and just like with your link skills, have a mobbing and a bossing setup. Just with your Legion board, same way you want to optimize your matrix as well and switch it every time.
Right. Are there presets for the matrix or no?
Not for the matrix, no. You'll have to switch them out, and every time something's on cooldown, you can't switch it around.
It's wonderful. Yes. I have played to 233 without nodes because this game won't drop me the nodes I want. So there we are.
And that's the other reason, right? Why getting the drop in the Meso gear so early is so important, because it starts you have to start building your snowball as soon as possible, so you can start getting stronger, kill faster, get more nodes there. It's all just interconnected, but it has to start somewhere. As for priorities for leveling, you want to look for leveling your nodes and putting them in leveled up slots to the extent that they help you either in dealing more damage so you kill stuff, or to the extent in which they increase your utility. So for this setup, for example, if you were mobbing like this, I would probably... Basically what it comes down to is I would never put a decent skill like that in a leveled up slot. That's kind of a waste, because it gains a little bit of uptime, but even on level 1 it has more uptime than it has cooldown. So it doesn't really do anything leveling it up right there. So I would either put if you're
talking about specifically Holy Symbol or for Sharp Eyes?
For Sharp Eyes, yeah, because Holy Symbol does gain extra drop rate and extra EXP, yeah. But for Sharp Eye, all of the other decents don't. So you don't need those in leveled up slot. In fact, you don't really even need to level them past level 1. In the past we used to, because you get like 2 or 3 extra stat when you max it, which is a joke. Yeah, the only ones that we want to level for stats is like Rope Lift and Blink, because that's 1 stat per level or 1 attack per level, so then it actually counts. But for mobbing, you could put the Urda Shower in there just so that has a little bit more chance of actually killing something, because it's usually off the side of the map, somewhere where you're maybe not attacking, right? So you want it to hit a little bit stronger. But other than that, it doesn't have like a huge priority. But if you're bossing, you'd either want to put your bind in there to make sure that if you know your timings, right? If you know if it times perfectly with your bind, so you can maybe do more bind and burst combinations, or your Shadow Walker, because that, I believe, lowers in cooldown and increases in damage buff as it levels up. And since those are both skill nodes, they're also harder to level up. So if you can get 5 levels for a skill node that is tougher to level up, you get more value out of that leveled up slot as just a general priority, And you have 1 more matrix point available, I see, as you... But maybe you've already put it in, because the screenshot might be a little bit older.
Yeah. So I have those 2 put in. Well, 2 now, yeah.
Yeah, 2 now.
I guess 3, actually. God damn.
Yeah, 1 at 233, yeah, so I have 2 extra. Yeah, you can go pretty much lower on visual IED. I don't know if you want to go 70, but... definitely in the Legion build, it's a much lower priority than where it is now, and then going for the critical damage first, and then the rest in boss damage, the damage will shine much better. especially on those skills with 100% IED. Those will just start cranking out the damage much more.
Yeah, they already shred pretty hard, so we'll see how much they shred after.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, in general, just any kind of event that you have, any kind of access anywhere to nodes, just buy out all the nodes ASAP and go for it. If you can get EXP nodes, use those to level up the skill nodes that will scale the best with you. So for you have a lot. It'll probably be between your Blades of Destiny and your Tornado because you're using them so often, so they're such a huge part of your damage that you want to level those faster so you can keep one-shotting with it whenever you go to a next area. And for bossing, especially once you get the cooldown reduction on the hat, so you can use it more often and just confirm all that damage. Yeah, you want to evenly bring those up, and then when you go further, once those are, you know, near maxed, I tend to not max things out just because I can. I usually go for like 20 to 21 and then move to another target, because at that point, you know, there's a little bit of a decreased efficiency on leveling them because it takes more nodes to level. Plus, you're going to be still opening nodes, so you're going to open them. And if you max it and then you open one, you have to extract it again, so then you lose efficiency there.
Right.
And I like to keep a little bit of something for a rainy day as well, when like, oh, I'm all maxed out, I can't upgrade anything. It's like, oh no, wait, I can open up like 100 nodes and actually gain some levels on my skills. And then just like the what did I mention before? Oh, like the inner ability, you have something where with relatively low effort you can actually still make gains when everything else is just tens of billions or hundreds of billions, God forbid.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, my HS is... So I bought all the nodes out of the store because I was frustrated by my tries. And then I got one of 3 EXP nodes, and then I put that into Holy Symbol.
That's fine. If you have no trouble like killing anything, then Holy Symbol is fine because you just get more EXP and more drop. But if you still, you know, if you're still not one-shotting, or like I like to call it, like, or if you're not able to full map clear, then you want to bring your damage up first.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But once you're full map clearing, then you just go all out to try to get as much gains from the clear that you can get. Yeah, so then you go drop EXP, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so definitely getting a slightly better hat. Well, maybe not slightly. Hopefully, much better hat. And then probably Blades of Destiny, Blade Tornado is a big priority, I assume.
Yeah. Yeah, just because of their low cooldowns, you just use them so often. So that makes them a larger percentage of your total damage output. So if you level those up first, that has a bigger total damage increase than the other ones would.
Yeah, they're also just like insanely good skills.
It's hard to miss as well. In some boss fights, when the boss is teleporting around and stuff, that can be a factor as well. If it's just like a giant tornado you throw through the map and you basically always hit it, that's also a good indicator that it is a large part of your damage.
Yeah, I feel like, personally, I think Blades of Destiny is a better skill, but yeah, Blade Tornado is also really good.
I think Blade Tornado has the, if you use it while you're on top of the boss, you have like wind-up damage as well, right? Like DOT before you throw them, so that's kind of nice. But then Blades from a distance is safer and just does a whole bunch of hits. I remember when it came out first, it was like okay. And then they're like, it's not strong enough. We're just gonna make it hit like 2 or 3 times. I was like, oh, you just fucking doubled the damage. Okay. And then people are like, okay, now it's in a good spot. Yeah.
Blades hits, I think 12 13 times total, something like that.
Lines, yeah, but pretty I think insane. It's like a whole bunch of lines, but then also multiple hits, I think. So like 13 and then 13 again, something like that.
Well, it's number of attacks, 7, chase, cut, activation count. I don't even know what the hell that means, but
whatever, dude.
And it stacks with Blade Clone, I guess, so it's pretty good. And yeah, Tornado's pretty insane.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're waiting for those boost nodes, but yeah, just slowly. Yeah, if you do at this point, because you're still waiting for boost nodes and leveling up all your skill nodes, essentially is pretty useful. What you can also do is instead of crafting specific boost skills, you can also craft node stones.
Right.
Which will be half as much, and they'll still most likely be boost nodes. But there's also a decent chance that there's skill nodes, so you get more value on average per crafted node stone. Again, you'll slow down a little bit in the beginning, but you'll get to the finish line faster.
So just, you're saying craft nodes instead of, or sorry, craft node stones instead of specific nodes?
Yeah, so if you go to node crafting, there should be like a craft node stone option for only 35 shards.
Okay.
Yeah, some boost nodes you won't need, but the boost nodes you do need, you're basically getting at half off, and then the skill nodes you're getting at 75% off. Yeah. And if you get all the shitty ones, you can extract those again, and just craft more, and then you keep going until you can only craft like 2 or 3, and then you stop again. But you get to like recraft as well, so that you can recycle.
Dude, grit 1, let's go.
That's actually really good, because now you just gained shards, because that extracts for like what, 70 or something, and you just crafted it for 25. So now you can only almost make 3 nodes out of that one. That's also why it's nice, yeah, if you kind of like winning the lottery, you just get to play.
You got to play the lottery music.
Oh yeah, the
slots. Yeah, the slots music.
Pulling the numbers.
The slot jackpot one.
Wait, let me get put the emote in the chat. There you go. The gamba.
I have a specific sound in mind, but
like all of the.
Yeah, that one.
With all the lights, yeah. Like you got the what do I call them, the fruit machine, the fruit slots, right? You get like the bananas and the cherries and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Trying to hit the 7s. So I think moving the Legion board around is gonna be a significant difference for you. And then drop Mesogear. I would advise to work more on that stuff and save for Savior. But you know, if you really want to make something 17 stars, I mean, I guess the weapon also gains weapon attack up to 15, so you know that would be the one. If you feel like you have backups, so you don't want to or have to safeguard, you can do that. I just think if you're more limited on money, I feel like throwing it in and dropping Mesogear first to try to make that money back, get more nodes, that kind of stuff, and then for Savior with way less risk, you should be able to get your stuff up to 17 as well, and just overall way less money. Again, you know. What's it called when you have like postpone gratification, whatever the fuck it's called, right? Like the
I know.
Do you eat the biscuit now, or do you wait? And if I come back, you get another biscuit.
You get 2 biscuits later.
Yeah. Some people are really good at that.
Been the one biscuit guy. Yeah.
You seem like the guy who would lick the cookie, or like would crumble off a little bit of the cookie and then eat the crumbs at least a little bit. It's usually the boys who did that, right?
Yeah. I don't.
The girls would have like immediately stuff their face, or they would just like stare at the cookie, and then the boys would like lick it or sniff it or break crumbs off, or like eat half of it and be like, "Well, I didn't technically eat it," so yeah, just like trying to find a way around it.
I'd probably like eat the whole cookie and then attack the interviewer for another one. You know. So.
These are inhumane circumstances.
Exactly.
We talked about the pieces to do. Flame. Oh, you're not getting many flames. Flames on the Absolab are coming along nicely, though. I think you got the good priority there.
Yeah, my thinking was if I'm gonna keep it, I want to flame it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm using like flames that I just receive instead of purchasing them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and event shops in the beginning. So you probably have like, what is it, your pants, and then the top. They have a lot of room for growth, and then after that the cup probably. Get everything around those levels, right? So if you look at the progression grid, you can kind of look for the flame scores that you're aiming for.
Uh-huh.
So you look for towards the end of mid-game.
I have the event, Black Flames.
Mm-hmm.
Should I use those on the cup or the... Well, I guess probably the CRA stuff.
Yeah, the CRA, the top and the pants... or wait, the pants, the top and the top and the pants, they just have 4% all stat, right? A little bit of secondary stat, but that's not really doing that much heavy lifting. That's like a 10 to 1, so you know, if you have 40 there, that's like 4, so that's like 1 or 2 weapon attack worth. That's not really that much.
Worth it.
Yeah, worth it. I mean, if you get like 5 attack, 6 all stat or something like that, that adds up to being quite a lot, even though it doesn't look great because it has no stat. But if all your items are like that, that's still doing a lot of work for you.
And throwing black flames on the top. See what happens.
If you do have black flames, you could also elect to use those on your weapon, because even though your weapon does have
Is it not insane already? I thought my weapon was like, I don't want to touch that because it's got luck and all stat and attack power.
no, it's definitely like a tier. Is 77? 77 is tier 6, right? Because I always forget with. Oh no, with Abso. Hang on, let me check. No, with Abso it's a tier 5, I think. Hang on, let me check. 192. Oh no, it is a tier 6. Yeah, dude, I'm always off. Arcane is just so much better. Like it's kind of disgusting. I mean, Arcane tier 6 would be like 90. Would be like 95 or something. It's almost like a tier 7 on this. Is like a tier 6 on. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So it's definitely a tier 6 plus. So that is good. But you could hit like, you know, if you hit a tier 4 for boss damage instead of all stat, that would have 8% boss damage. You know, and that would definitely be better than 4% all stat. So there's still outs, but again, you could always, you know, throw it in a calculator and see like what is even the chance of hitting it. And if the chance is like 300 black cubes, they could be like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna use it on CRA instead, because the odds of gaining something there is way higher than gaining something on this thing, you know. Yeah, so probably, yeah, it's probably fine. I mean, it's very limited in how many you have, right? It's not like you have 50 or something. If you have a lower amount as well, you just want to go for where you can get the quick gains. If you have a higher amount, then you would go for like Hail Marys, I would say.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like a powerful flame is usually worth about a third of a eternal flame, and is worth about a fifth of a black flame. So yeah, black flame is like 5 to 3 basically to an eternal. But if you say, what would you rather have, like 100 or let's say, would you rather have like 30 powerful flames or 10 eternals? Where would you use that? I mean, with the stage that you're in, I'd rather have 30 powerful flames, right? Because now you have 30 chances of like a nice outcome, and you still have many items to work on. But let's say that everything had a really good flame, and there's only like one item that is a little bit bleh, then maybe 10 eternals would give you, you know, because then you have that chance for that tier 7 outlier. But if you say, you know, would you rather have like 3,000 powerful flames, or 1,000 eternal flames? Well, now I probably want 1,000 eternal flames, because you can get really good flames with everything with that amount anyway. But now you have way more chances for those outliers. So now it starts favoring the more rare ones, I would say. Power in numbers.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we would use blue or really glowing cubes, like in case like it's similar to like why would you are you using?
Yeah, bright cubes versus
black. Yeah, red and there's still red and black in my mind.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Bright and glowing. What does it even mean, man?
Yeah, if you're going for double crit damage on gloves, for example, right? Because then you're looking for double primes. If you would use red cubes for that, then you would normal.
Someone said that prime lines are less likely with red cubes. Is that true?
Yeah, they're less likely, but they're also less likely per money, right? So they're way less likely, but bright cubes cost more. So just because they're less likely doesn't necessarily mean it's less efficient. It is less efficient because they're pound for pound also less likely, and that's because the red cubes have a chance, at least, you know, in KMS according to what we hope we have, but we don't actually know the numbers, is that the top line is 100% legendary, the second line is 10%, and then third line is 1%. But on a bright cube, it's 100%, and then 20%, and then 5% for the last one instead of 2. So that extra chance makes it more, slightly more than double, but like it's less than double the price. So therefore, if you look for like double crit damage, we see it's like 9.4 to 13.5 on red cubes. But if you check it to black cubes instead, it actually goes down in cost from 7.3 to 10.5. So then it makes more sense to throw a whole bunch of black cubes at it, or bright cubes.
Makes sense,
yeah. People are looking at Last Resort. Level 1 makes his burst 40% stronger. I don't know if it's that much.
I have it just sitting in my notes. I just haven't equipped it.
Yeah, if you're purely doing bossing, I would definitely give it a try, especially if you also can combine it with terms and conditions, right? Once you get the Angelic Buster, because that could be, what is it, 40, 50, 60% damage depending on the skill level. Last Resort is huge. 40% final damage. Okay. Yeah, and you're a 90-second class. Yeah, and Last Resort does end up at 90 seconds very quickly. And while you don't have a whole lot of space needed right now for boost nodes, you can, for bossing, you can definitely squeeze it in there instead of the Urda Shower, right?
Yeah.
And even the Holy Symbol if needed. It's already in the situation now where you can activate it with a down arrow key to immediately get to stage 2, right? Or do we have to wait until Savior for that one?
Enter second stage with remaining duration.
Coloring again.
Coloring? Oh.
Yeah, no, my fucking shirt. Or you can, what's the other thing that you can just set up with the, set up the other option. Set up with the alternate option, and then just use the arrow key one time to immediately go into stage 2.
Does it? Do we have that? No. Hold on.
Lead says that you have it, I think, in the most recent update. I think if it's untoggled and you activate it with the down arrow key. Yeah.
Yeah. Using skill down arrow key will immediately renew your vow.
Or if you toggle it, I think then just pressing it once will immediately give you phase 2. So right click it, and then press.
Sorry, I'm reading it.
Mm-hmm.
You can renew your vow by pressing this key again without use of arrow keys.
Yeah.
So you just double tap it, I guess. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, but if you right click it, do you see icon appear on it?
Yeah, there's a C.
Yeah. That should mean that if you just press it once, immediately goes phase 2. So you do take more damage. So ideally you want to combine it with your bind, right? But so every 90 seconds you'll use that with your 90-second burst. And every 180 you'll use like the Shadow Walker and the bind and use the whole big thing. Full Blade Tempest and just going ham.
Oh, okay, yeah. I feel like part of the issue is you get so many skills that you have to put down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, burst is great because you get to do so much damage, but then the preparation for burst gets so long that it's like, whoa, we're gonna be binding in 5 seconds. I'm like, oh shit. What is the order of skills again? Like this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. Because as soon as that burst hits, you want to have everything already ready to go, and you want to just wail on him for those 10 seconds. And that's also why it was such a great move that the it's called Blade Tempest, right? The key down skill.
Define key down.
This one? The one on the top left, basically. That's just like the insane amount of lines.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Blade Tempest.
Because that one used to last longer and do about the same damage, but now they made it a lot shorter so that you can throw out like a tornado and the other one.
Oh, yeah. I usually do that first.
Yeah, and then you can do the Blade Tempest, and then you can have them again faster, right? So your total damage in like a 40-second duration would go up quite a bit as well, because you're not stuck in that animation for Blade Tempest the whole time. But you can just do other stuff as well.
Yeah, I usually Blade Tornado and then Blade's Destiny, and then I do Tempest, and then you can usually get one like right after, if they're. I don't think it's still locked usually, but you can usually just throw it out after. Oh no, wait, Blade Tempest is 5 seconds. Yeah, that's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
So you can probably get another one in if you're lucky. But.
Yep. Yeah, and then depending on the time of the bind, you can get your bind pretty close to the 90 seconds eventually, but you have to like near max it. I think you have to get to level 29 or something, so like level 24 in a level 5 slot, or and then you can get it close to 90 seconds, so you could use it every 90, but then you basically have to use it every 100 seconds, right? Because there's a 90-second immunity after the bind, and the bind lasts 10 seconds. So then you'll also be pushing back your 3-minute burst every time. But for soloing, that's probably worth it, because then you can fully guarantee every 90 seconds for everything to completely hit. Some bosses, you know, they're quite stationary, and it's not necessary, and then some bosses that just teleport all around, you just want them to sit still and take it.
Yeah, I definitely just raw Blade Tempest some of the time if I don't have a Pertinova ready.
Yeah, and the boss doesn't have like a one-shot that you can get caught up in.
Yeah. Or just Final Cut first.
Yeah, Final Cut, and then use it. Yeah. And then Chains of Hell right after to block all the shenanigans.
Yeah, I was fighting a catchy yesterday, and I was like, oh, I hit 30 stacks, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do Final Cut. Here we go. Problem solved.
Yeah, you have to time it quite well, right? Because the animation is super long, but the hit is like way at the end.
Yeah.
It's like a 3-year animation to die.
Final Cut's 3 seconds. That's a pretty big window. In my mind, at least, but...
Yeah, but Akechi, you got like those fucking screen doors, and then there's like a lotus flower, and then there's a swipe and everything. It's a whole ritual, right?
The section where he summons all the clones is so...
It's annoying.
Ass cancer AIDS because it just it
slows
you too.
Slow.
It's
And then you can use movement skills, and you're like, get me out.
Okay, I guess I'm just gonna Final Cut my way out of this.
Yeah. And then the bind, and afterwards he like knocks you across the map and then binds you and NDRs, and it's like, you really want to kill him with your bind.
Yeah, that first week I was struggling, but now that I destroyed him like last night, so...
Now it's satisfying to destroy him because you know what he's capable of, so it feels really good to stop him in his tracks.
No, it's your blood's gonna do the watering the grass. Okay?
Yeah.
You know what?
It's like, oh, you're pretty good. It's like, dude, you're already half dead. Why are you pretending? Why are you grandstanding here? I've already killed you like 50 times.
Yeah, he's like the anime character who's just like...
Yeah, pretty good. And he's like losing blood by the leaders, and he's like, maybe you're not so weak after all. It's
yeah,
like,
after
dude, are you okay?
Thrown into a wall, like...
He's like,
bro, you're not Goku.
He's like losing color in his face because of all the blood loss. He's like, looks like you're not that weak.
Jesus.
Okay, talked about hyperstats, talked about inability. We can definitely lower a little bit on the IED. You could, and again, like double the difference in setups for mobbing and bossing could also be if you hit an extra IED for, for bossing, and then you switch near the end, near the reward for the extra drop rate. Or, on bosses where the damage doesn't really matter, you can always just have the drop rate one out, like on, if you're doing arc or something, the drop is, of course, way more important than getting any kind of extra damage in. Yeah, for FAMs, yeah.
Okay, yeah, of course. Yeah.
But because I would still see if you can chase that second 15% IED just to make it sure, that you can't, you can roll away from that inner ability, no, sorry, not inner ability, from the Legion Grid, bossing Legion Grid IED without really any kind of repercussions there. But yeah, I think Legion setup, priority on the stuff. Event shop. You already know who you're gonna hyperburn. Check to see if you missed anything. Is there any equip or anything in the game that you still had any questions on?
For secondary, I don't know if you can see my inventory in the background, but I have too many Sweetwater Kataras.
It's got a few, yeah.
Rapid Edges, yeah.
Did you transpose yours?
My Katara, yeah.
Oh, this one's transposed. Okay.
So it's a Sweetwater. It's just I didn't want to push it past unique because it's. I feel like I'm gonna transpose it anyways, with a Fafnir or something. So.
But this one is still your 26 attack. I don't know. Did you already transpose the Fafnir into this one as a Sweetwater?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking I'm just gonna. So I have a Fafnir at like 10 in my inventory.
Okay, yeah. We'll get to 16 and then send over, yeah.
Yeah, so my Commercy's... How many coins do I have? I'm at like level... The second vessel, and then I have 172 Dinaros. So... Do I want to get Sweetwater equips first? Or do I want to transpose my...
You can typically buy around one of the cheaper pieces before the level up to the level 3 boat even becomes available, just because of how long it takes, and then not slow it down because of the cost. But that means about 300 Dinaros, and you can spend up to 100 a day, not transposing, and it's really likely to take you longer than 3 days to transpose. So then that might slow down your boat. So if you're going all the way because you also want to get more Dinaros, for all the accessories and possibly transposing if you get the pet mark and definitely if you get the Dominator, that kind of stuff, then I'd probably just work on getting the level 3 boat first. Takes a while, but I mean, you'll need to, again, probably waiting until Shining, you know, just so you can send it to 16 easily and then transpose over.
Yeah.
And then even with Shining, with how many backups you have, you can very easily, without safeguarding, get up to 17, or depending on how much money you have, then maybe even up to 19. And
Yeah, the thinking
yeah.
was because Sweetwater Katars are a dime a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
If transposing it would be like a big priority, just because it's like if I boom it, it's whatever,
Yeah.
because I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to safeguard it ever.
Post
Basically.
transposing is just whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's on the level with CRA things, basically, right? You'll have so many backups there as well that eventually you get to 17 first on that, you get to 19 first on that, you get to 21, 22. They're always like on the forefront of that.
Yeah, that was my thinking with this event, was just like push my CRA, maybe my weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the average it costs for 17 during a 5, 10, 15 is 500 mil.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, okay, if I do like 3 or 4 equips, I have like 3 point some mil, I should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would still be okay for Shining, I think, because it didn't take me too long to make this money. Because now I can do a lot of bosses solo, and then I can just do other ones on other characters. Not as easily, but having them done makes me some money as well.
Yeah, I mean, it always comes down to whether it gives you functional advantage. Like, if it allows you to do content significantly faster or more content than you can do now, then in the short term, it's just always like, go ahead and do it. If it's just a matter of just like rounding out your character a bit more, maybe like increasing your cover score a bit more, getting a floor or 2 extra in dojo, and maybe shaving off like 2 to 5 minutes off of all of your all of your weekly bosses combined. If there's another big event like Shining just around the corner, then I personally would wait. Just because if you can put 10 bill, or let's say you could put 15 bill towards that event instead of 20. It's not like a huge difference, but you just have so much more cushion at that point, and you can take so much more risk, because during that event you're essentially doubling the value of your money, just because of all the changes to Star Forcing and the 5, 10, 15 and the 30% off at the same time. You're almost, if you save 10 bill until then, it'll essentially be worth 20.
Right.
And yeah, since you're still so early with this character, I think it's proportionately worth it to hold, because it's not like your character now is in dire straits and is horrendous. I would first do the changes, a little bit the hyperstats with the Legion board, maybe with the link skills, shuffle that around a little bit, and with the Matrix, and I think you'll already notice like quite a big difference, and that might take the pressure off as well of like feeling that you need to get some 17 stars right now. Plus, what's cooler than 117 star now, and then 3 later is just having 4 or 5, having like guaranteed 5 or 6 later. That's going to be even cooler, because then you might have actually get to full 17 at that point. Okay, can I ask, is your is your Discord icon is that the MLB guy?
It's Viper. I don't know if you know who Viper is.
Oh shit, y'all fuckers don't even smoke crack. What's up with that?
Yeah,
it's that guy, right?
Yeah, it's that guy.
That's in one of my playlists. I'm like, I understand it, but I have to be like under the influence of something to really get into this.
It's really silly. It's just like the
you cowards. You cowards don't even smoke crack. What's up with that?
It's literally. I'll send you the meme that it's just like. Oh my god.
He reminded me a little bit of there was a guy, and I still follow Destiny a lot, and his wife was on a podcast where there was like this red pill dude who totally got blown out for, he was basically just like trolling someone's chat and calling them fat.
Is it Rolo?
No, not Rolo. The MLB guy, and he basically turned red like a fucking tomato when he got called out, and then he scampered off the podcast, and he almost like this zoom in. It could be him as well. Hang on, let me see if I can find.
I watched Destiny. I think I know the video you're talking about. I haven't watched it yet, but.
Yeah, at the end of the video when they were like, any last words, and then she fucking like drags him.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's nice. It looks a little bit like a mugshot though, is it?
It was like the thing. It was like an AI. No, that was an album cover, but it was like they got an AI to like scan it, and then it showed like 0.999% contempt, and then like 0.0001 disgust. It's just like a funny image.
Yeah, not wrong. He looks very contemptuous in that. Okay. Well, is there anything else that you were thinking about?
At the moment, I guess.
'Cause I'm trying to think of like all the subjects, but I think we went over everything.
Yeah, I think all I really have to. I haven't done a sphere yet. I hit 235, and then I just like kind of took a break. So one of my friends was like, "Play Dead by Daylight with me." I was like, "All right, you know what? Fine. I'll just do that for the next week or two, and then we'll see what happens." But
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it'll help you speed up all the other dailies a little bit as well, so save some time.
yeah, so is the Asphera daily quest annoying? Or was it?
Little bit.
Sorry, yeah.
I feel like you learn it very quickly though.
Yeah.
But it's you have to kill monsters to fill up energy, and then with the energy you shoot the balls, and then with the balls you have to aim, and you have to get the right speed, and then you will just explode orbs on the right side. But you'll need to.
Oh, it's that one.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And then you can't skip until you unlock Moonbridge at 245, right? So it's quite a hurdle to get to that
put real
point.
money into it.
Uh-huh.
Just gonna Maple points it. But
Yeah, I feel like that's what a lot of people do.
honestly, I was doing it just for what is it called? Maple Tour. So I was like, that's money, man. It's big money. If you just do Maple Tour every day.
It adds up for sure, yeah. But how much you spend adds up as well.
Maybe I'll do a quarter of the cookie. Maybe I'll push one thing to 17, and then, or weapon to 15 or something. I don't know. I want to or 16, I guess, because it's 5, 10, 15. But
yeah, 16 would be very cheap there.
Hold the rest. I'll hold the rest, but
sure, whatever you feel like you need to do. Okay.
okay.
Just know that I'm just telling you, like from a financial standpoint, what I think would be more efficient. But ultimately, it's just your money, your time, your decision. You do what you want to do.
I mean, I would have pushed all 4, but now I'm settling for just 1. Okay. That's.
I'll see that as progress.
Yeah, that's like we're meeting a quarter of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Compromising.
Exactly. There you
go. Okay.
And then is there really a huge benefit? Like, what is it just like new areas for getting past 235? Like for 240 and whatever? Like, what is the real benefit? It's just like, well, I guess besides like the story and stuff.
You come into familiar cards more. So that's pretty big.
Oh, like they have a higher drop rate at higher level areas?
Well, they even just exist, right? Up until now, you don't really have any areas where they exist.
Oh yeah, Asphera. Well, sorry, not Asphera. Morass drops them. But then...
Yeah, Morass has them, but those maps cannot be great to loot sometimes, like huge maps, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're bad maps. Are Asphera maps better, or like...
Yeah, they're a little bit more compact, so it makes more sense to loot. But it's mostly if you go even further. Like Celis doesn't have familiars, but it's typically better for map layouts and purely for EXP. And then once you get to 245, you get into Moonbridge. Those maps have like pretty good layouts and high EXP and familiars, so that's like seen as a really nice step up there. And then you can start speeding up the quests. You'd also have daily quests in there that give a decent amount of EXP, and also extra matrix slots, less damage reduction on will, that kind of stuff. And then it's really once you get into Labyrinth and then Limina that people really start like farming the familiars. And then depending on how quickly they can go, sometimes they stay there for a while and work on their familiars first. Sometimes they'll go to they will go quicker into Cernium, and like if they hit 260, but then the training immediately there will be pretty rough, because of course you need to get over the sacred power requirements. Yeah, that can
People said that training like sped up in 260. That I don't know.
If you're strong enough that you can like start going near or at full map clear there, you get roughly like double the XP there compared to like Lumina. But no more no more droplets, almost no more nodes, no familiars, right? So you're sacrificing one for the other essentially.
Oh, so you're basically just XP instead of
yeah, you choose what you're going to prioritize. Yeah, you're farming or you're grinding.
I feel like I enjoy farming more for like nodes than specifically XP personally, but
yeah, it'll just be hard in those areas to do anything like quote unquote farming, just because you can't barely kill them properly. So you have to be in full damage gear essentially to be able to even kill there.
Oh yeah, okay.
So then you can't really make the choice, at least not in the very beginning. Just won't really make sense to do that.
Yeah, I feel like just slowing down leveling, kind of where I'm at, is probably a good idea, just because it would feel better later game than just like pushing it. Because I've noticed like when I got to Morass that I was like, oh, near the end of the quest, I was like, okay, I'm not even at arcane power for this. I'm just gonna like,
yeah, I mean, if you keep going quickly, it's really hard to keep up. Like, it's impossible to keep up with the plus 50%, but it's like barely possible to keep up with like the minimum requirements.
Yeah, so I was like, well, what's the point? Just sit at Esfera for a while. Let your symbols kind of level up, and then
for sure
worry about it later, sort of thing.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. And then, you know, you give you a little bit more breathing room to your mechanic and kind of give that an actual fair shot, right? Rather than just being like this barely side project kind of thing, but actually really give it a chance to do something good with it. Yeah.
And a lot of times it's like me picking up the pieces of like me 5 years ago, not understanding how this game works, and like wearing frozen equips with like literally nothing else on, and like all this other crazy shit where I'm like, I seriously want to just delete the character to just have something else instead, but you know.
Oh yeah, someone did mention, yeah, Elite mentioned in the chat though that I think it's only Hayato and Dual Blade that can really do that, where they can go into Grandis pretty quickly and somewhat farm there, just because you have those giant AoE huge damage skills that can still one-shot even at the early stages.
Okay.
And yeah, so you might actually be one of the classes that can go a little bit into drop rate and meso and still actually kill there. Because, you know, you also have to think of, like, when I first went there compared to now, like, a whole bunch of stuff has changed as well. But you'll be one of the only classes that could do that. And that is actually the main point where Dual Blades get into their element for training again, and where other classes, like maybe Shadowers and... Because, you know, Shadowers get all that damage from that Meso Explosion early on. If they go into Grandis, like, Meso Explosion is just tickling monsters. It's not really doing anything. And like Night Lords, Assassin's Marks and stuff, it's not doing anything there, right? So they're having those singular huge explosions that still kill the monsters actually gives Dual Blade a huge benefit compared to the other classes, and other classes will actually switch into Dual Blade to be able to train into the higher level areas, and as soon as you hit 265 to be able to go immediately into Burning Cernium and always be on the highest level area rather than to be one area behind, which is more normal because you need more time to build out that sacred power.
That's ironic, yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, and that's why it's also just good to know, like, what are your characters good at and what are they bad at, right? Yeah, their mobbing early on might be bad, but their bossing early on is good. And then typically people don't really like the bossing as much super late, but they love the mobbing on it there. So it's, you know, give and take.
Wait, what's the issue with bossing on Dual Blade later?
Just because of your big attacks, you're a little bit more DPM heavy, and you're not as burst heavy enough to really capitalize like the roar and the huge parties, because you're on a 3-minute, and then you'd have to find another 3-minute party as well. If your party is more 2-minute oriented, then you might be a little bit desync, so you really want to get those. But yeah, because you always still have a really big 90-second burst, right? But then you're kind of completely on your own for the 90-second, and then you're really hard banking on that 3-minute burst with Domain and maybe with a Benediction, that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay, makes sense. It's interesting how there's still different burst windows completely in this game.
Oh, they've actually been unifying them quite a bit. It used to be even worse. Like some classes are like 100 and 200 seconds, and then there were 4-minute classes out there, and Now they're bringing a lot of the longer cooldown skills and all giving them like the charge system, like with the Goddess Blessing. Or they're just either doing like 90 and 180, or 2 minute and, or basically just like 1 minute and 2 minute, or you know, everything's like 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. It's more uniform now than it has ever been, but yeah, it's still quite different, and it's a nice extra challenge, I think, for building boss parties and stuff. But yeah, it also emphasizes the value of communicating and being like, okay, who has burst? Like, do we go now? Do we go in 5 seconds? Can I start charging? You know, it's important to kind of like know your timers as well, and communicate with your party during those boss fights.
Yeah, I think probably for Luwil, it's like one of those where you actually want to use Discord, but like every boss before that, it's kind of just like,
yeah,
do your own thing.
Yeah. Or yeah, maybe if you're with a group of friends, you know, and they really haven't done the boss, and for Lotus you want to talk like get out of the way for the portal for the platforms, or you kill the whole party kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then it's just kind of like Clown Fiesta, good time, I think. But
yeah, I mean that's fun. Yeah, as long as you don't fail out, slam your head against your keyboard. But
yeah, that could be frustrating, especially if it's like very easily avoidable.
I was doing a struggle party on one of my characters for Cvel, and we killed the boss, but we all died out. So no one got the rewards, and we got locked out.
No,
which was
beautiful.
Wonderful.
Everyone was like, is this supposed to happen?
Yeah, I died when he was at like 2.4%, and I was like, okay, that's fair. Because he took a while to spawn for breath, because I checked left side, and I was like, oh, he's on right. And then
everyone went right, and then he was left. Yeah. Beautiful.
Like, okay, cool. That's wonderful.
Lovely. All right, I have to start getting ready for the Kalos practice.
Sounds good, dude.
So I want to go for that. If anything else springs to mind or any topic, you know, just hit me up on Discord. But otherwise, you know, you can just always ask in the chat. You know where to find me.
Okay, I'm gonna. So what were the main points? I just want to notepad myself.
So with hyperstat in some crit rate, and then definitely redo the Legion boards, both for mobbing and for bossing, with the new priorities, right? So enough crit to hit 100, and then probably take out of IED, and you're probably still gonna do fine. Link skills, move around maybe a little bit, see if you can get the Cadena link skill in there. And if you're gonna work on the Angelic Buster, definitely get that burst in there. For equips, you know, just the Order of Flaming stuff, and I would work towards drop and Meso set. And then eye on the prize when it comes to, you know, trying to get the Helix as soon as possible, so you can start getting those coins and possibly Superior. And then Superior in tandem with Commercy for Dineros, and then that will make your bossing set compared to the mobbing set that you're making now. Yeah, just be aware of the progress of the matrix. Make sure you get all the nodes that you can. Craft node stones. Look for your tries. And try to get last resort in for bossing, and try to get used to using that.
Yeah, I have a last resort node that I just threw in there.
That's good. That's good.
Because one just happened to drop the other day, but.
Oh, nice. And those I say would be the main things, and then, you know, keep an eye out for characters that you want to maybe turn into boss mules. Capitalize on events, especially nodes and bonks, just for free Legion levels. And yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoy the mechanator, the mechanic.
Yeah, I've been bonking a Phantom for the link to hopefully get less crit rate out of other things.
Yep, that'll also help. I mean, it helps all your characters, right? So now all of them can go a little bit more harder on damage rather than crit rate. All right. Yeah, so I think that's the gist of it.
Sounds good, dude.
All right. Well, best of luck on everything.
Appreciate your time. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you listening and you being here.
No
all right.
Of course, man.
No worries. Okay, well, I'll see you around. Have a good one.
All right, see you around, buddy.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, coolio. Awesome. All right, so if you guys enjoyed the session, I'm glad. If you have any follow-up questions or things like that, make sure you leave a comment. And if you want one of these sessions as well, check the info in the description, or use coaching over in the Twitch chat over there. And then you could have one of these sessions with me as well. Either you use your channel points, or you pay for it. Or you leave a comment with your Discord name saying that you would like to win one of these sessions, and you could be one of the 2 lucky people at the end of the month, somewhere next week, that I will draw from the hat, and you could just get one of these for free as well. Yes, so thanks for checking out the video. I have to check out another one. Maybe there's a playlist that pops up. I hope so. Should be somewhere on the screen. And either I will see you live on stream, and you could be in the audience right there, calling yourself Cox, or I'll just see you in the next video. Appreciate you being here. I'll see you around.